just because I'm not saying because I'm saying that we shouldn't let Saudi Arabia distract us by, I don't know, like freeing Raif Badawi or freeing this feminist or letting women drive, or letting people go to to theater, or letting women go to sports stadiums, or letting women join the army, and a whole hundred other things that they're going to throw at us. Just because I'm saying that we shouldn't get distracted by this, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be people pushing for these. Okay, there should be. If Saudi Arabia is desperate to throw symbolic things at us, then, and if you're a human rights activist that cares about those symbolic things, use this desperation and go get those things. Go get all of them, right? But I'm just saying, like, don't let Saudi Arabia distract you while you are getting those things, right? Again, the reason why I'm very aware, trying to be aware of this, is because me coming from Iran, and and a lot of anti-government Iranian activists have become so aware and so used to seeing how the Islamic Republic of Iran uses distraction methods like this, while human rights as a whole is still a disaster. Like, the Islamic Republic of Iran was even flirting with letting, hijab slide at some point. Like, they're even like flirting with that idea. And anybody like that comes and wants to be like, oh yeah, that's great. Like, you could see the level of awareness in Iran of how this is all symbolic has become so high that when foreigners come and see that as a sign of progress, they get a lot of hate from people in Iran, right? Like Christian Kapoor, for example, who's Iranian herself, got so much hate from Iranians inside of Iran when she told Zarif, Iran's foreign minister, that, oh, women being allowed in stadiums just a little bit, that, oh, she's like, oh, that's progress. And she got a lot of hate for that from Iran, because Iranians have become aware of how this game is played. So because of that background, I'm used to that, seeing that, that's when I saw this in Saudi Arabia from the beginning with the Vision 2030 and all that, I kind of like, I've seen this somewhere before. So I was very familiar with how this game is played. And it was very interesting to me how even people from Iran who are aware of this, how this game is played, were congratulating Saudi Arabia, not because, and I was like, you guys are hypocrites. You guys should know that this is just a game, and these are just reforms because of, to cover up much larger numbers of human rights violations. But the reason why they were supporting it was because anything that a lot of the people who are against the Islamic Republic, for some reason in Iran, would congratulate all of Iran's government's enemies, which includes Saudi Arabia, for some reason, which is not a good thing to do. But I was very, from the very beginning, I was telling people that no, don't let this blind you. Okay, so one thing I want to mention, because I know we have a lot of ex-Muslims in our audience, and I think the ex-Muslim community is very guilty of this, and I kind of understand why they're guilty of this, is because they themselves deal with individuals, with people, ex-Muslims, who have very, very stories of struggle, dealing with human rights violations by the governments, and usually a lot of them are the victims themselves, and they have felt the desperation, the suffocation of the government not letting you speak, not letting you be who you are, not letting you fight for what you want, not being able to love who you want, not being true to your identity. So because of all of that, they Raif Badawi, or like who was that ex-Muslim girl who was like Canada, welcome,
Rahaf Al-Qurud.
They care about that a lot, and they see that as major progress when there's any move on that front, right? But the ex-Muslim community, all of a sudden, they ignore, many of them, what's happening in Yemen. Okay, I mean, we shouldn't, just because we're ex-Muslim, we shouldn't be tribal. We shouldn't be tribal. Like, we shouldn't be celebrating Rahaf finally being safe in Canada more than this deal, because the people in Yemen who are being who are victims of deals like they're not ex-Muslim. They're some of the most conservative Muslims. They're some of the most religious Muslims in the whole world. And it might be tempting. I mean, that I can see why so many ex-Muslims care about one person like Rahaf or one person like Raif Badawi more than hundreds of thousands of Yemenis. But these are civilians. Okay, if you being ex-Muslim has made you care about one Raif Badawi or one, what was their name again? I keep forgetting her name.
Rahaf.
Rahaf, right? One Rahaf. More
a lot of people are going to hate you for this.
I know. I don't.
Great.
They
Yeah.
come at me. Yeah. No, but yeah. Again,
Yeah.
see, this is a great example, right? Me forgetting Rahaf. There are people in our audience who get triggered more by me forgetting Rahaf's name because she's like a very symbolic ex-Muslim activist that got free. She should be like, she's celebrated by ex-Muslims all around the world, right? But they do not care about everybody forgetting the Yemeni war. Like the number of people who have forgotten the Yemeni people, they don't get triggered by that, but they will get triggered by me forgetting Rahaf's name, right? That shows where their priorities are. They like, even if they care, they're like, sometimes they're like, oh yeah, I guess this is something we should care about. Yeah, it's bad, it's war. Yeah. But then Rahaf's situation, one woman, one person, this is like, they're so emotionally invested in that. But they're children that are slowly dying from starvation in Yemen, and disease and starvation has on purpose been used as a weapon of war against them. And they don't go beyond, oh yeah, that's bad, war is bad, oh I guess this is sad. But then, so again, this is ex-Muslims, they're not immune to tribalism, right? Like, this is not just like a Muslim or a Christian or a Hindu thing. I want to urge people to care about humans, and when they are prioritizing what they care about and what they want to push for, think about the larger impact and number of people that are being affected, the amount of misery that a policy or a form of activism is avoiding. Think about that as a whole, rather than what is the ideology of the people who believe in this, or whether it's a woman or a man, or again. So sorry,
I think we might be. Yeah, I think you might be being a little bit more cynical towards the ex-Muslim community on this, because I think some of this stuff is actually natural. It goes into what Paul Bloom talks about in The Case Against Empathy, his book. Like this idea. Hold on, it said that when you have if you see a picture of one girl who's got leukemia, one 3-4-year-old girl who's got leukemia, and everybody says, please donate to her to help with her treatment, loads and loads and loads of people will donate to her. But okay, we have a hospital full of kids with leukemia and we've got 200 kids, then people usually won't donate, because people just empathize and relate more to individual stories than statistics. I mean, this is something that people have done in political campaigns for the longest time. It's always good to have one person who is a symbol of something you want to get done, rather than just talk about the issue in general in large numbers, because that story doesn't resonate as much.
Yes, Ali, we know that story.
Huh?
Yes, but can I respond to that?
Yeah. That's. I mean, I was just saying that's one thing. I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong. I know that a lot of the ex-Muslim community has kind of downplayed the whole Yemen thing, and they do focus on individual activists. So there's that aspect too. But I think that this is another aspect. The second thing I wanted to say was what you said about the goodness of people's hearts and how it's all about dollars. So what happens, and this is kind of very typical of the US, is that there is more than other sort of superpowers in history. There is more of a humanitarian impetus for the US to do things when the dollars are not a factor. So if the dollars are a factor, like for example, China, the dollars are a factor. Saudi Arabia, the dollars were a factor for a very long time, right? Then the humanitarian thing takes the national interest takes precedence, economic interest takes precedence, and the humanitarian instinct or the humanitarian sort of impulse becomes lower. There's a lower priority on the totem pole. But when the dollars are less significant of a factor, like for instance, now there's less dependence on Saudi oil, then the humanitarian, the values things, and the human rights issues, they start becoming more forefront, because they can afford to make them more forefront. They're more able to be able to push for these issues. So I think that there is a goodness of the heart thing aspect that does drive these decisions with, say, the Biden administration. And one of the big reasons for that is because the dollars are not as significant a factor anymore like they were for the past 40 years.
All right. So you mentioned that you're being cynical with the ex-Muslim community, but this is natural. Well, Ali, I am being cynical because it is natural, right? And also, it's not just that when it comes to it being natural, it's not just what you referred to. That is true, like the whole one child in front of you compared to, but like Rahaf and the Yemenis, they're all far away from you. And this is not just about that. This is also tribal, okay? Because we also have a whole bunch of, we have pictures, we have stories of individuals from Yemen, from Syria, and I can guarantee you that if these were not Muslims, if these were ex-Muslims, the ex-Muslim community would care about them more, even if it was faceless people, even if it was a whole bunch of faceless people. But we also have pictures of people from Yemen, individual stories. No, it's not just about, oh, you need a face and a story. No, this is also, that's one natural element of it, but another natural element is the tribalism. And that's why I said that ex-Muslims are not immune to it. Why are they not immune to it? Because it's natural, but tribalism is also a natural part of our how our brain is wired. And but just because it's natural, it doesn't mean it should be excused. We can do. This shouldn't be nobody should use this is natural as an excuse, because we have proven to be able to do a lot better than our nature. Nature, I know. Let me finish, please, because I have another point to make after this as well. I said, Ali, I'm not saying that you're suggesting any of this. I'm just using it as a way to say something else. Okay. Natural is sometimes very bad. Okay. And humans, through coming up with standards and ethics and better systems, have managed to be a lot better than natural. Natural means that if your tribe invades another tribe, then every single woman gets raped. That's how we're wired to act. Okay. But we are, as humans, we have came up with better methods to live than that our nature will, so again, that's just wanted to point that out.
Hey guys, if you want to join these streams live, get your comments and questions read by Ali and Armin and the guests, and most importantly, to get full access to the full video versions of all these episodes, become a patron. Link in the description below.